This is literally the coolest thing ever, and I'm not even exaggerating. So as you may know, I built this Chrome extension called Engage a Lot, which is a tool for YouTubers that makes it easier and faster to answer their YouTube comments by using only their keyboard, so they don't have to use the mouse all the time and click all these different buttons. And for a while now, I had this idea to add AI-generated reply suggestions as a feature to this extension, so that you can select a comment and the extension would then automatically generate an answer that you can send as the reply using artificial intelligence. And my idea was to get something like the AI suggestions YouTube already provides. So as you can see, some of these comments here, I automatically get these reply suggestions provided by YouTube. So I can click on them, they get inserted into the text box. But as you can see, not all comments have these suggestions, and they are relatively short and concise. But they are contextual, so they understand what the comment is about and they make sense as the reply. And my idea was to let my extension provide something similar, but for every comment, so that we have these short replies for all the different comments here. But what I ended up implementing is so much better. I'm blown away by it. So I was searching for an API that I could use, because of course I don't want to create my very own artificial intelligence. That's something for geniuses, not for me. So I want to use something that's prepared already. And there are different options available, but I didn't really find anything that I could use. There is MLKit, which provides smart replies, which is basically exactly what I need, but they only make this available for mobile, only for Android and iOS. There is no way to use this on the web in my Chrome extension, so I couldn't use MLKit. And then there's also TensorFlow, which I think can do the same thing, but TensorFlow seems very complicated and setting it up is quite difficult. So I kept searching and eventually I found OpenAI, which is an API that makes GPT-3 available to use. You might have heard of GPT-3 before. I think it's the most advanced language generating artificial intelligence out there right now. And as far as I know, Github Copilot is also based on GPT-3. So it can not only generate human language, it can also generate code, but we will talk about this a bit more later. So through OpenAI, you can use GPT-3, and not only is it extremely powerful and generates really good text that looks as if a human has written it, it's also very easy to use. The API is super intuitive to use. You don't have to be a genius for it. So now, first of all, I want to show you the kind of text it generates for my Chrome extension, and then we will take a look at the documentation and see how you can maybe use this API yourself in the future if you want to use GPT-3 in your code. So let's go back to the tab with the YouTube comments where we can use my extension. So now when I activate Engage a Lot on one of these comments, it will automatically generate an AI response for this comment. And the way this works is that we read the text, we send it to my server then sends this text to the OpenAI API, which then generates the response via its artificial intelligence. We send it back and then we show it here on the screen. So let's see an example of this. Yo, thanks bro, even though it's hard for me to digest all of this information, I'm making a lot of progress so far. Let's see what answer the AI comes up with. And I debounce these requests for 1 second. If we move up and down quickly, it doesn't immediately generate the AI text, because I want to avoid that we waste API requests by generating them too fast when we just want to move up and down, right? So if I do this, I just move through these comments quickly, then we don't want to send API requests to OpenAI for every single comment. This would be very wasteful because I actually have to pay for these API requests. Anyway, now here in this pop-up we can see the response the AI came up with. Absolutely, progress is what it's all about. Keep up the great work and let me know if you need any more help. So the answer is really as if it was written by a human, and it's really contextual to the comment that we are answering to. So this is completely generated by AI. Okay, let's see some more examples. Quite sad seeing that only about 11% of people who started watching the series actually reached the last episode. Let's see what answer the AI comes up with. Yeah, I was kind of bummed out when I saw that statistic. I poured so much time and energy into making those videos, and I'm really glad that you stuck with it until the end. Isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing how it reads the context how it understands the context of this comment and then creates such an answer to it. This is as if a human has written it. I'm completely blown away by this. It's so cool. Let's see another example. Thank you so much, sir. Very nice explanation. This should be a simple one. You're welcome. Yeah, makes sense. You're welcome with a nice smiley. And we set up the sentiment of this answer ourselves. We could also make the AI unfriendly if we wanted to. I will show you how this works later. Very necessary tutorial to understand activity lifecycle beyond theory. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, this is pretty generic, but it's fine. It's enough for this. But the cool thing is that it sometimes even knows the specifics of the platform. So let's see if we can find an example. I had a question earlier where someone asked how they can use retrofit, and the AI generated an answer that gave the instructions how to install retrofit, that they have to create the interface with the HTTP request they want to do, and it really understood how this stuff works. I don't know how it does that, but it was amazing. So let's see if we find another example. This is very technical here. The tutorial is pretty good, but my project has a weird error that I cannot seem to fix. The error says player movement already defines a member card update animation state. Let's see if the AI can create a useful answer for that. That sounds like a pretty frustrating error to deal with. Luckily, I might be able to help you out. Can you send me the link to your project so I can take a look? As if I can spot the problem and help you fix it. So the AI suggests that the user sends in their code, which is completely fine, but I know that sometimes we even get very specific instructions, and some of them have blown me away, but it's not so easy to find a comment where we can see this in action. Because, of course, the AI is not magic. It only understands the context of the text, but it doesn't know all the information. It doesn't, for example, watch the video, obviously. But still, I have an invisible button in the fragments on create view, whether the permission was granted in the activities on create. How can I change the button state from invisible to visible in the fragment bundle? It's not. Okay, I can't use that one because I don't understand that question, even though I'm a human. I checked the code again and again. Can I message you? I assume that the AI will answer something like, sure, message me. Something like that. Of course, shoot me a message and I take a look. Really cool. So you don't have to type this out yourself, you can just insert this. Let's see if we find something more technical. It says the on navigation item selected listener method is deprecated. What is the updated method that we use and how do we format it all? I don't know if it can find an answer for that one. The on navigation item selected listener is deprecated, but you can still use it. The updated method is called on navigation item selected. You can format it like this and then it prints out actually the code. Wow, and it formats the code actually. I don't know if this answer is correct. I'm not sure right now, but this is the reply suggestion we get. As you can see, we even get a code snippet. I don't know if that answer is correct, but this is what the AI came up with. Let's try out one more. It's hard to find a good example where we get a question that can actually be answered properly with the limited information that we have available. What about HTTP? Do Picasso take care of this? Let's see if the AI can generate an answer for this. Density. Picasso automatically scales images based on the density of the device. This is correct. This is what Picasso... Isn't this amazing? So from this text here, which is not even perfect English, it's not perfect grammar, it's just really this short, quickly written text. What about HDPI, XHDPI, LDPI, etc.? Do Picasso take care of this? So even the grammar is wrong. But GPT-3 is smart enough to understand that this is the context of Android development, because otherwise it would not give this answer and talk about Picasso like this. It doesn't talk about the artist Picasso, it talks about the library. Isn't this amazing? So it explains that those are all densities of the screen, which is correct. Picasso automatically scales images based on the density of the device, which is correct. So this answer is absolutely amazing. So I now can press my shortcut here and it inserts this answer and we can send it. So this is absolutely mind-blowing in my opinion. And what is even more mind-blowing is how easy it is to use. So even though this AI is super powerful, it's very easy to use. So let's go through this next. So this is the code on my server that makes the API request to OpenAI. And on first glance, this might seem like a lot of code and difficult, but this part here is basically just some endpoint configuration, which has nothing to do with the AI itself or with the API. And this down here is the content filter, which looks complicated, but this is basically just copied from the documentation, and it's only necessary if you want to use the API in production, because this filters out in case the AI generates like toxic or very negative or responses where there are swear words in it. So this is what this is responsible for. But this is just something that you have to write the exact same way like this. Basically, you don't even have to understand all the different parts. The part of my code that makes the actual request that generates the AI response is this part here. That's basically all there is. And even here, you don't have to understand all the configuration to use this. I mean, I know what the temperature is for. It's how creative the AI is when coming up with responses. Max token says how long the response will be, but I'm not even sure about these other settings here, these other three. And I basically just copied this configuration from the documentation. So they have these examples here. They have a playground where you can play around with this. You can find it under this URL or through the documentation. And here they have these different examples. This is the chat example, which basically shows a chatbot that can give answers to a human automatically. This is basically similar to writing or answering a comment on YouTube. Up here you can show the code, and I basically just copy pasted this exact configuration. I changed a few things to make it more customized for my use case, but for the most part, this is just copy paste basically, and it's ready to use. They also have a quick start tutorial in their documentation. Again, under this URL, or just visit the documentation on openai.com. And here they explain how you can get up and running. And what I really like about this documentation is that it's written in a super friendly way. Even though the topic of artificial intelligence itself is complicated, the documentation makes it really accessible. It really gives you the feeling of, okay, everyone can use that. You don't have to be a genius to use that. It's really well written, really friendly, really nice to understand. And yeah, super cool. And the way this works is that GPT-3 can basically complete a piece of text. So what we do is we give it a prompt. GPT-3 then reads this prompt and tries to complete it. And depending on how we write this prompt, it changes what kind of text GPT-3 generates. So here we write, the following is a conversation between a YouTuber named, and here I insert the name of the user, which in my case is Florian, between a YouTuber named Florian and his or her subscriber. Florian is helpful, creative, clever, and very friendly. Then we have subscriber colon, which implies that this is what the subscriber is saying. And here we insert the message that we pass to the server. So this is the comment that the subscriber or the viewer on the video wrote. We insert this here. Then we make another line break and write Florian colon. So now the AI reads this prompt and it tries to complete it. And it understands that now it's the turn for Florian to say something, because this says Florian colon. So now the AI understands, okay, Florian is supposed to answer something. And isn't this a genius concept? It's mind-blowing. This prompt is also the configuration for how GPT-3 answers or completes the text. So if we would change this, for example, to Florian is sarcastic, mean, and unfriendly, then the AI would generate a different kind of response. It would be a mean response, because it tries to take this whole context into account. So the example in the playground has a slightly different prompt. This one says the following is a conversation with an AI assistant. The AI assistant is helpful, and so on. And this is what I used at the beginning, and it also works pretty well, but this is more customized, because if the subscriber or the viewer on the video would ask us what our name is or who we are, then the other example from the playground would actually answer, I am an AI assistant, because this is the context we gave it. It understands that it is an AI assistant. So I changed this to the following is a conversation between a YouTuber named Florian, for example. And now if someone asks us what our name is, it will answer Florian, or whatever the name of the user is that uses the extension. The same way, the extension understands that we are supposed to be a YouTuber. So it will change the whole answer to take into account that we are a YouTube creator and that we are talking to a subscriber or a viewer for that matter. So for example, there was a comment that I got where someone was really friendly and said that they are wishing us the best for our project or something like this. And because GPT-3 understood that we are a YouTuber because of the prompt we gave it, it created a text like, "I'm very happy that I have subscribers like you that are so supportive." So GPT-3 understood that we are a YouTuber and it has to take this whole YouTube context into account, and it's really mind-blowing. So using these prompts and by customizing these prompts, you can really customize the way this works. And the more information you feed it, the better and the more customized and specific the text completion is in the end. You know, let's actually try this out. Let's actually change this to Florian is sarcastic and very unfriendly. Of course, you should not use this in production because you don't want to generate mean responses, and they should also be filtered out by the content filter. But let's just try it out for presentation here. So I changed this, and I'm localhost right now, so it should go into effect immediately. Let's try this out. Thanks bro, even though it's hard for me to digest all of this information, I'm making a lot of progress so far. Let's see how it changes the tone of the response. "Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad my years of experience can be of some help to you." I don't know if that's sarcastic. Let's see another one. "Quite sad seeing that only about 11% finished this." It's not sad, it's a relief. The last thing we need is more people finishing terrible. Okay, it's not a TV show in this example, but you can see that the tone of the response changes a lot. Let's see what it answers here when we make it sarcastic. Could not. Nah, I assume this one was filtered out by my content filter. Let's see. Yeah, OpenAI response didn't pass content filter because it generated this one here. "You're welcome, moron." So this is filtered out by the content filter. And this is exactly why you need it. You never want to show this to a real user, right? But this is why we get this answer, because we told AI that it's supposed to be very unfriendly. So let's quickly change this back. Not that I accidentally pushed this to production. So the feature is available in Engage a lot already. I already uploaded the update to it. So if you want to try it out, you can go ahead. I have to limit the AI responses for free accounts because these requests actually cost me money. It's not a lot. I think I pay around half a cent for one of these responses. So this can add up if there are too many. And that's why I have to limit it for free users. Free users right now have 15 of these responses per month. That's enough to play around with it and try it out. If you have a YouTube channel or know someone with a YouTube channel, please go ahead and try this out. Just go to engagealot.com and there's a link to the Chrome extension. Yeah, and there you can use it. Besides completing normal text, the AI can also generate code, and I think this is what Github Copilot is based on. It can actually write code, and if the code generation is as good as the human text generation, then I'm sure that this will be super powerful in the future. And of course they keep improving this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to try this out in the future, but I haven't yet. As you can see, it's also still in beta. Whereas the completioner API is not in beta anymore. This is completely ready to use. And this is a good moment to mention today's sponsor of this video, which is Brilliant. Brilliant has courses on artificial intelligence, and all courses on Brilliant are really nice and easy to understand, really accessible. So this is a great way to understand this topic of AI if you want to learn more about it. So if you're wondering how a neural network like GPT-3 works, you can learn these concepts on Brilliant. And all their courses are split up into small interactive lessons with short exercises that just make learning a lot more fun. Beyond that, they also have courses on other computer science topics, data structures and algorithms, math and science, and they even have a Python course. So try out Brilliant for free by clicking the link in the description or visit brilliant.org/codingandflow. And as a special offer, the first 200 people who sign up through my link get a 20% discount on an annual membership. So as I already mentioned, using the OpenAI API costs me money. Now it's not a ton of money, but I still have to make sure that I make the endpoint on my server safe enough that no one can spam requests to the server. Now you actually can set a hard limit on the OpenAI API, so you cannot exceed this amount of dollar per month, which is really nice and avoids that you get a huge bill. But still, I don't want anyone to use up all my quota by spamming requests to my server. And this is why I have to make sure that the counter increments properly. And the first version of my endpoint basically had a bug in it that would make it possible to abuse a race condition and spam a ton of these requests at once, and the counter would increase too late. So this new version of the code for this endpoint avoids this race condition, and I wrote this with help of Reddit. So there is this node subreddit on Reddit where I posted this code and they helped me come up with a safe version of it. And the code is a bit verbose, but it's actually not that complicated. So we make this request, we check that the message is not empty, and then we first increment the counter of this user, the smart response count. We first increment the counter before we make the request. This way we avoid that someone can abuse the race conditioner and make the request before the counter increases, because then you can send a few thousand or millions requests at once, I don't know, and the counter increases too late, basically, depending on how fast the code runs. We check that the user exists, then we check that the smart response quota is not reached. So smart response is how I call these AI generated responses. If the quota is reached, then we will send back an error. We will not generate a response, and then we will decrement the counter again. Also, if no smart response can be generated, so if the smart response is empty or null, then we also send back an error, API failed to generate response, and we decrement the counter as well, so this doesn't count against the quota of the user. So yeah, this is just the code of this server endpoint that should avoid users being able to send malicious requests to my server. Yeah, right now the quota limits are 15 for free accounts, 500 for pro, and unlimited has 1000, but I might have to change this in the future. I'm still fine-tuning this. And again, this is just a content filter, which you can get from the documentation. Yeah, so this is super cool. Go ahead and try out OpenAI's API yourself. They actually give you $18 a free trial quota, basically, which is enough to generate a lot of AI text. So go ahead, try this out. As you saw, it's pretty easy to use. I added this feature already, and now that I have this feature out, and I also added another feature where you can prepare canned responses, response templates. Now that I have these features out, I want to stop focusing on features for now and focus more on making my code more robust. I want to start writing unit tests for the server extension and maybe website. Website is not that important, or maybe it is, but the server and the extension are more important. I want to start writing unit tests so I avoid that I break my code later, which seems easy to do with JavaScript because it's not type safe. I want to improve the code a little bit. I want to put more attention on marketing. I created some social media accounts for Engage a Lot, because without marketing no one uses your tool. And yeah, last but not least, I want to give a shout out to Will Button, who also has a YouTube channel, and he helped me fix my server, my Linux server where my node code is, because I had all my code on root, which is not good security wise, and he helped me set up a user account and move the code to this user account. So shout out to Will Button. Check out his channel. He makes DevOps content. Yeah, subscribe to him, and I will keep you updated about this whole project. I'm really pumped about it. It's a lot of fun. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you want to see more about this, and then we see us in the next video. Take care.